Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Listen, I want to talk to you about tenants today, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, if we don't get it right with the tenants, we got some big problems. So as you know, I talk a lot about real estate investments, commercial investment brokerage, and today we're going to talk about some tenants with you. Now listen, my name is Mark Hulsey. I'm the managing broker of Results Commercial, a Minneapolis St. Paul investment boutique. So every single day we are diving deeply within commercial investment. But let's cover the gamut today on tenants and why this is so important. So you guys, listen, it's all pretty logical, right? Like most of life is logical. The same thing with investments. An investment is based on what? It's based on the income, right? It's the income. We take away the expenses. We're left with our net operating income. And from there, we can figure out all of our numbers, whether it be cap rate, debt service coverage ratio, cash on cash return, you name it, we can figure it out. So I really got to express this to you from a couple different vantage points about tenants. When people talk about that, yeah, Mark, I own some investment properties and I couldn't get rid of them fast enough. I go, why is that? Why'd you want to get rid of them? And it's every single time, it's always the same answer. Oh, the tenants, they drove me crazy. They drove me nuts. I couldn't take it anymore. The tenants really made me nuts. I had to get rid of it. Or I'll hear from people saying, why do I drive by those commercial buildings all the time and I see these for lease signs? And the for lease signs are out there all the time. I go, because what you don't understand is that many commercial landlords are not interested in just putting in any tenant. There's great tenants, there's good tenants, there's average tenants, there's bad tenants, and then there's professional bad tenants. Now I know about professional bad tenants because I've been landlording for over 25 years. And in my investment many years ago, thankfully, I haven't had too many lately. I did have one recently, a challenging tenant who we fully vetted, did all the backgrounds, and he was borderline dangerous. I'll tell you, nothing makes you want to get rid of your property faster than dealing with a lousy tenant. What I just said to you, when I said we've got from excellent to the bad, and I went one level further down, so this really applies to, let's talk about single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, apartment buildings. That's when we can get into that professional bad tenant that I like to call them. What is that? Well, just real simply, you guys, these are tenants who know the game in and out and up and down. Okay, they understand tenant landlord law. They know every little clause in there that can make a landlord screw up. And if you're a new landlord, if you're new to this business and you come in with an attitude such like, hey, listen, this is my building. I'm going to do what I want in my building. That's very dangerous. It is very dangerous. And that's why I always tell people within your state, get to your attorney general's office, find your landlord tenant handbook. Get to know your landlord tenant handbook very, very well, because this is where it breaks down the information. Bad tenants. Professional bad tenants, they know how to play the game, okay? That's what they know how to do. And then when I say play the game, listen, you guys, I'm talking that if a landlord screws up, the next thing you know, that tenant may have 1 year of free rent. They can live in your property, in that unit for a year and not have to pay rent. Why? Because suddenly you entered that unit in a way that is not allowed by the law, okay? You entered it and you're going, well, but it's my building. And there was a cat in there, and I hadn't seen the cat before, and I knocked and I called and nobody answered, so I went into my unit, and next thing you know, they've got you documented going into a unit, and the next thing you know, you could be in trouble with the courts. It's all about tenant quality. The tenant represents the income, okay? That's what this is about. In our world of commercial investment, you guys, we deal with net lease investments. We talk a lot about net lease investments on our YouTube channel here. So you'll find lots of different discussions with me and Hayden Hulsey talking about net lease investments. So Walgreens, Starbucks, Coffee, Arby's, McDonald's, those are net lease tenants. Now, how cool is it, right, to have a tenant that's Walgreens or Starbucks? That's as good as it gets. That's why net lease investments are up here. Long-term tenants, corporate guarantees, they take care of the property, okay? That's the epitome, that's the ultimate in tenancy. And then I just gave you the example of residential, smaller, where you can even get into the professional bad tenants. If you're going to be an investor, all right, and you're gonna get all excited about this idea of building your portfolio, you want to understand what I'm talking about here. This idea about tenancy is so important. That's why commercial investment landlords and property owners will say, I'll stay vacant before I'm going to go and say, oh sure, come on into my property and let me work with you and let me improve the property. We'll do a build out. I'm going to give you a tenant improvement allowance and maybe I'll give you 2 or 3 months of free rent, okay? A concession on your rent to get you started. Only to find out after month 4 or 5 or 6, very early in the tenancy, there's nothing there. Nothing there in the way of tenant quality. And all of a sudden, the worst thing can happen is something like, say, listen, I got some bad news for you. I'm going to be late on rent this month. I don't know if I can make rent this month. We can't be hasty as we're going through and we're vetting tenants. Pay for background checks. Do everything you can to make sure you're understanding everything you can about a tenant. When I refer to net lease tenants, you guys, those corporate tenants, some of the biggest work that we do as we're putting those transactions together, we're diving very deep into that tenant, okay? And just because it's a corporate tenant, that doesn't mean that it's just all, perfect and we've got perfect money. There could be all kinds of issues, underlying issues that could be coming to the forefront. Maybe that's why they're disposing, why they're selling the property, and we need to understand that. So I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I don't care whether you're an old pro or you're new to the investing business. I want you to always have this very, very top of mind, because it really stinks if you go out there and you build your portfolio of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 properties and you get into a couple lousy tenants and they drive you crazy or threaten you or your family. And again, these things happen because there's a lot of crazy people out there, you guys, and I want you to avoid that at all costs. And then you can have a portfolio that really does serve you well and gives you the kind of return and yield that you're looking for. So if you like these investment videos, I hope you'll subscribe to our channel. Please do. And if we can help you anywhere along the way, drop us a note. Check us out at resultscommercial.com, certainly all of our social media channels. And thank you for joining me today.